So we're going to welcome our dynamic duo here to go beyond the dashboard and into the future of analytics. First, we have Samuel Baker. He's a staff analytics engineer at Mirakl, and he helps teams, the BI teams, solve life-changing problems. And with him is going to be Valentin Binjacar. Is that how you? Binjacar, whatever your name is. You're going to repeat it. And so he's an analytics engineer at Mirakl, but he does also live coding on the side. And both of them are going to present us how you go beyond the dashboard and into agentic analytics. So if that's what you're looking for, you're in the right place. And let's go.
Thank you. So very warm welcome, everybody. It's a bit nerve-wracking to come and speak in front of you all today, but this is a subject that means a lot to me and Valentin. So as I said, I'm Samuel, I'm the staff analytics engineer, and I'm joined on stage by Valentin Binjacar. Yes. He'll jump in a bit later to show us some of the concrete actions of how we've employed our technology at Mirakl. But what we want to share with you today is how the role of the analytics team has been reframed as Mirakl has grown and as expectations have changed. So we'll talk about our ways of working, the foundations, and how this shows up in the kind of analytics products that we're working on now. So first, just to set the scene, we want to talk about what our team used to look like. So I've been with Mirakl now for about 4 years, and originally our team was classic full-stack BI. We ingested the data, we transformed it, we shipped dashboards, we answered ad hoc questions, we answered analyses as fast as we could. For an earlier phase of Mirakl's growth, that delivered real value. If you were producing dashboards, answering questions, you were doing well. To be clear, okay, we still believe dashboards are useful. They still have a place. We still build and maintain a core set. But on their own, they're not enough for what people expect from analytics today. The product team expects data products they can embed directly. Stakeholders want clearer recommendations, not just charts. And increasingly, internally, tools and systems and agents require a clean foundation of data that's well documented in order to plug into. So it wasn't that our old way of working, our full stack BI, wasn't scaling well. The problem was path dependency. We were so focused on the journey from data ingestion to transformation to dashboarding to storytelling that we weren't investing enough time in reusable meaning. So this is how we look at our value, our world of value today. It is an oversimplification. So the real world in Mirakl is a little bit more messy than this. At the bottom is the data platform. This is built by our incredible team of data engineers. I'm not going to go into the technology that's built on today. If you're curious, you can come and ask us about that later. The important thing is that we are no longer responsible for ingestion. Which is a good thing. Why? Because Mirakl is growing, the product portfolio has expanded, and that's becoming increasingly complex and deserves a real sort of area of specialism that we just didn't have the time for. What it means now is that we can move kind of up the layers, investing in the semantic layer and AI, and at the very top, this is what the people actually interact with. This is what they use. So these are curated dashboards. As I said before, dashboards aren't dead. They're still part of the product offering that we give. Self-service, though, is something that we are increasingly developing through tools and documentation. And the final thing is actionable insights. So this is pushed, curated recommendations. This is what people now expect. So rather than measuring ourselves by how many dashboards we produced, how many questions we answered, how many tickets we resolved, we now measure ourselves by how much value or how strong the middle of this stack is. So today we're going to focus on two parts of this. We're going to talk about actionable insights. We'll come back to that at the end. But the first thing we're going to talk about is the semantic layer. I'll start with how we approached it, and we'll have a look at actionable insights at the very end. So, it's complicated out there. I've listed some of the options that we considered. KubeCore, DBT, the boring semantic layer. These are very legitimate choices. They're fantastic. But interestingly, in our case, there were a few constraints that actually nudged us to actually build something, a custom implementation. And to be honest, it grew quite organically, not for a big upfront design, but it's evolved with the growing needs of Mirakl. So why we built our own? Well, first we wanted something tool agnostic. Definitions that could be consumed in Databricks or pushed to Databricks, Metabase, Dust, or consumed in other tools, or whatever comes next. Another challenge at Mirakl is we have a lot of multi-fact metrics, things that are just difficult to get into some of these other implementations, and we didn't want that restriction. Another thing that we wanted it to be human readable, SQL-centric, so that analysts, engineers, PMs, whoever, other members of the team can actually view, copy, paste examples without having to try and understand the structure of the semantic layer. One thing I should note is we know this space is moving really, really, really quickly. I was just reading a few months ago about the Open Semantic Interchange Initiative. It was a very interesting article from Snowflake that points towards a more standardized way of sharing semantics between BI tools and AI. We're mindful of that. As I said, our goal was not to invent a proprietary new format, but to just have something pragmatic that worked with us today and eventually could evolve or be exported to an emerging standard. On the next slide, Valentin is going to show you what this looks like in practice. I'll leave the stage to you.
Thank you, Sam. All right, so as you can see on the right, this is kind of what our semantic layer looks like. So two types of file. One that is called codex files, which are files that document table and columns. For each table and for each column, we explain semantically what the table and the column is used for. The second type of file we have is the metric file. As you can see at the bottom, they document KPIs with certified queries on top of that. We also explain the value of what purpose this KPI serves. And so, in practice, this is what our semantic layer looks like. So the goal here is how can we maintain a standardized and trustworthy semantic layer. The way we see things is that we quickly realized that semantic layer is just maintained as production code is. It needs linting, it needs validation, it needs also deployment. So we built a custom CI/CD on top of our semantic layer. This way, each time there's a modification on either the codex file or the metrics file, it is linted, it is then validated in terms of the schema. We also run Databricks queries to verify that the queries that are documented, for example, for the KPIs run. We also check the information schema on Databricks to verify that, for example, a documented table or column exists. And then, if everything goes well in the PR, for example, it will be then deployed. With this, we have a full pipeline that ensures version control, quality of code, and standardized deployment. So the important thing isn't the pipeline itself, it's the mentality. Treat meaning as production code, treat semantic layer as production code. This way you have something that is rock solid and that can be used downstream. The second core principle that we quickly realized was you need to be strategic where you're going to deploy your semantic layer. So we have quickly realized that we need to have it deployed high enough that any tool that we will plug downstream will be able to inherit it. This way we are tool agnostic. So yeah, no downstream tool defines the semantic layer. It is defined at a higher level. A good example, for example, is Dust. So Dust reads the semantic layer via its GitHub connector. This way it's able to generate SQL queries based on the matrix file with documented queries that run. Another use of Dust, for example, is also its semantic layer enrichment tool. So we have another agent that is built on top of the semantic layer that reads it and help us generate more code for the semantic layer. This way we don't have to come up with every definition by hand. So yeah, here the second principle that we want to emphasize is we create meaning once, high enough, and every tool will inherit our semantic layer. So, yep.
Okay, so to build on what Valentin was mentioning there, he's very modest, but the way we work with the semantic layer today, we've even gamified this. So we have a challenge internally with the team where we say, okay, right, who can document the most, who within which schema is doing really, really well. So it's a lot of fun, actually, believe it or not. Okay, so you've seen a little bit about how it's been structured and deployed. To build on what Valentin said, I want to show you some of the use cases where we're actually using agents today to help build our semantic layer. The first is documentation. I don't know if anybody in the room would admit to enjoying writing documentation. No, you're only raising your hand because you're in our team. So I do not enjoy documentation. It's not the most enjoyable part of my day, I admit that. But I've read a million LinkedIn articles and blog posts everywhere that talk about the need for good documentation. It's the basis on which you can derive a lot of meaning. So obviously, trying to automate this was a natural process. So just to take you a little bit through the workflow, we give our agents SQL that populates the table. We give it a little bit of context about what the table is supposed to mean. Our agent can then read the existing semantic layer, and importantly, our customer documentation. That's important to make sure that we have the consistency with our existing documentation in the semantic layer already, but also it matches the kind of language that our customers are used to when they read about Mirakl products. That's really, really important for where we want to go in the future, that we have that consistency. The output is just it's a simple YAML file in the format that we need, but importantly, there's always a human review in this process. We want to make sure that obviously there aren't hallucinations and things like that, but there's also a subtlety whenever you create a table, at least for us. It's important that there's that nuance, the context behind which that table was created is properly documented so that it can be used in the right place, with the right tools or by the right people. The result obviously is much faster documentation. So far, and we're just at the beginning of this, we've documented 150 tables, more than 2,500 individual fields, and counting. Second use case is metrics authoring. So as Valentin mentioned, we want to document every single metric in our semantic layer. It is a lot of work. It's not particularly glamorous, but as I said, it's very, very important for what's coming next. So how does that work? I don't actually have enough space to detail all the slides or the whole workflow here, but we can give our agents SQL from Superset, which is another tool that we use internally. So there's a semantic layer in Superset. We can give it meta-based queries, Databricks query history as well, to have a look at, okay, what queries are people actually using? We can pass that, we can deduplicate that based on semantic similarity, and we can propose candidate metrics to add to our semantic layer. Again, there's always, 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 always a human review in this process. We don't let this stuff just randomly add metrics to our semantic layer. And the final bit that, again, Valentin mentioned here is on how we support our end users through self-service. To be clear, self-service is not a topic we're really going to touch on today, but we can do, as I say, text to SQL. To be clear, okay, we have not solved this problem. As far as I know, nobody's solved this at the moment. I've seen lots of articles out there. The spider benchmarks tell us that this is a really, really tough topic. What I will say is it's a great starting point. It's leveraging our knowledge, the metrics that we've already documented. Yes, people can still take those queries and use them in a way that we wouldn't ourselves. We think that's okay, to be honest. The idea isn't to lock down our semantic layer and the use of it so tight that people can't use it. The idea is to give people a stronger foundation for doing their own analysis elsewhere. We all know the classic question that we get or we used to get as a BI team is, okay, fantastic dashboard, can I download it so I can manipulate that somewhere else? So everybody's inherently an analyst. We just want to accelerate that work. The key thing though, our use of agents in here with our semantic layer, the idea is that this is self-reinforcing. It was hard to start, but what we've built on top now, it builds itself. And that really is fantastic. Okay, so I want to move on now just to talk about the second part here, the actionable insights. So far we've talked about how we reframed the focus of value for the team. We talked about the semantic layer, the CI/CD process, and how we're using agents on top of that. Next I want to talk about actionable insights. So this is, again, focusing on what value the team can bring. Previously, we had that full pipeline. We didn't have a lot of time to invest in the quality of our work. Now we're really leveraging our skills internally. So that's processing data at volume. That's machine learning, and that's providing the kind of actionable insights that people expect. So I'm going to let Valentin move on to the next step.
Yes, thank you, Sam. All right, so what is an actionable insight? So we all know the paradigm of looking at dashboard, making your analysis, and driving a decision from it. Here, what we're trying to do is push the decision directly, the action. As an end user, you're not getting a dashboard that you will need to analyze. You're getting directly recommendations at scale that you wouldn't be able to drive because there's too much data, for example. So that's the goal of Actionable Insights. We have selected a few use cases and have two cases that we are treating at the moment. So stock management and category expansion. For stock management, the goal is to find sellers with products that are selling too quickly and we're missing out on opportunities. There's a lot of data to analyze. And for example, on this case, we're using machine learning to be able to push recommendations on products or alternative of products to push to our sellers so that they're not out of stock and we're not missing out on GMV. For category expansion, we are looking at different categories, finding the highest performing ones that are not pushed enough, and again, at scale, finding other categories, substitutes of products that we can push to not lose GMV and find best opportunities for categories expansion. So yeah, here the key principle is really going from this dynamic of pulling information from a dashboard to, as a team, as a BI team, pushing actions to the end users. You're not giving them a dashboard that they're going to have to analyze to find the action to take. You're directly pushing the recommendations, and the user is merely validating the action that you're pushing. The architecture on which it's built is two models. So first, an alert model, and secondly, a recommendation model. So the alert model's purpose is to assess the impact of, for example, missing out on a certain product. You can imagine, for example, iPhones that are going to be sold by the 10th of the month. and you're going to miss out on a lot of GMV, for example. So for each product and category, for example, we're going to assess potential loss, potential gain. Then comes the recommendation model. It's going to aggregate all of this data, again, data that wouldn't be able, as an end user, to analyze on a dashboard because there's just too much data. And with machine learning, we then select the best top recommendations across those two use cases. So you're going to have a mix of those two use cases. And then the end user will just act on said action. You can then imagine, as you can see on the bottom right, it's just going to validate, all right, I know that I need to recruit those sellers that have those products that are going to be otherwise out of stock by the middle of the month. So it's another paradigm. We still do dashboards, but it's a new way of actually pushing actions rather than providing dashboards so that the end user will do his analysis, and then understand the action that he needs to take. And so I'm giving back to Sam the mic for the end game of all of this.
Okay, just conscious we don't have a lot of time left. I'll just finish with a couple of points maybe to take away from this, or what we wanted you to take away. First is to think hard about how your team is structured relative to its strengths and the value it can bring. That's a realization that we had internally that the dashboard factory wasn't the best thing for Mirakl in its future. And the second is don't be afraid to try your own semantic layer. And don't be afraid to use agents for yourself first. Our goal here really was to accelerate how we build that value layer in Mirakl. What you see on the right here, very briefly, is a bit of a teaser. It's not a product launch, but it's kind of where we see the future evolving in Mirakl and in the future. We see a world where there's potentially a meta agent that could act on your behalf, that leverages everything that we're building in Mirakl. So the actionable insights, the self-service, and the dashboards. We are still at the beginning of this journey. We still have a lot to learn, but we'd be very happy to talk about it. So if you want to come find us after, don't hesitate. We're in the hall at the end, and we'd love to talk to you. So thank you for taking the time today.